Namaskar. Dear viewers, I welcome you all for the lecture on tourism attractions in Singapore and Indonesia. In this episode, we are discussing about the popular tourist attractions and tourism activities in the globally known tourism countries in Southeast Asian region. For your convenience, this episode is divided into 5 segments. First, Introduction to tourism in Singapore. Second, tourist attractions in Singapore. Third, special interest tourism in Singapore and unique Singapore. Fourth, introduction to tourism in Indonesia. And lastly, about the tourist attractions in Indonesia. Now coming to the introduction to tourism in Singapore. Singapore is usually described as a playground for the rich, and it is somewhat true that the small city state does have a certain accumulation of wealth. But Singapore offers more than just luxury hotels, fine dining and high-end shopping malls. There is also a vibrant history and diverse ethnic quarters to discover, along with the many family-friendly attractions and lovely public spaces that make visiting the slightly futuristic city worthwhile. Singapore has a well-run public transportation system that makes travelling from one place to the other convenient and easy. English is spoken everywhere and signs are in English as well. In fact, Singapore is one of the easiest and most comfortable countries to navigate in Southeast Asia. Singapore officially, the Republic of Singapore, is a sovereign city, state island country in Southeast Asia. It lies off the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula and is 137 kilometers, that is 85 miles north of the equator. Made up of the lozenge-shaped main island, widely known as Singapore Island, but also as Pulau Ujong, its native Malay name, and over 60 much smaller islets. It is separated from peninsular Malaysia by the Straits of Johor to its north and from Indonesia's Riau Islands by the Singapore Strait to its south. The country is highly urbanized with very little primary rainforest remaining. Its territory has consistently expanded through land reclamation. Coming to the facts and figures about Singapore. The capital is Singapore. Area 710 kilometers square, population 5.312 million in 2012, World Bank. Official languages are English language, Malay language, Tamil language and Standard Mandarin. Dialing code +65. Tourist attractions of Singapore. Let us take a look at what Singapore has to offer. Marina Bay Sands. The opulent Marina Bay Sands resort complex includes a hotel, high-end luxury brands, a mall with a canal running through it, the art, science museum and the Marina Bay Sands Sky Park, a vantage point for taking in the entire city. The Sky Park's viewing deck and infinity pool are found in the ship that tops the hotel. Only hotel guests are allowed to use the infinity pool, but anyone can visit the observation deck. From the Sky Park, you can see the innovative double helix bridge, the port, the gardens by the bay and the impressive skyline. While up there on top of the city, guests can grab a snack or a coffee at the rooftop restaurant or pick up some keepsakes from the souvenir stand. You can purchase a photo of yourself green screened in front of the massive hotel as it's all lit up at night, but the cost is steep, 50 Singapore dollars. Sentosa Island. Singapore isn't exactly known as a beach destination, but if you're really craving some fun in the sun, Sentosa Island is the place to find it. Sentosa is a popular island resort in Singapore, visited by some 5 million people a year. Attractions include a 2-kilometer, that is 1.2-mile long sheltered beach, Fort Siloso, 2 golf courses, 2 5-star hotels and the Resorts World Sentosa, featuring the theme park Universal Studios Singapore. Siloso Beach is a good spot for getting in beach time, and visitors can play volleyball on free courts or go kayaking and skimboarding. There are several other beach attractions as well, plus an underwater world aquarium where you can swim with dolphins. A must-see on Sentosa Island is the Merlion, Singapore's famous statue that has the head of a lion and the body of a fish. Fort Siloso, the country's only preserved fort, is also located on Sentosa Island. Universal Studios Singapore. Universal Studios Singapore was the latest addition to Singapore's attractions list. Opened in 2010, Universal Studios Singapore has 7 themed sections with countless rides and shows, all related to major hit movies. The park is part of the US $4.5 billion Resorts World Sentosa development. Start off in Hollywood. Strolling down Hollywood Boulevard will make you think that you're in the States, not in a tropical Asian country. This is the main shopping area of the park. New York is based, of course, on the city of New York, and here you can have your photo snapped with movie stars such as Charlie Chaplin and Marilyn Monroe. Continue on to Sci-Fi City, featuring a pair of the world's tallest intertwining roller coasters among other things, and then to ancient Egypt, where you will be faced with 2 massive god statues. The atmosphere is truly that of ancient Egypt, so get in to experience the Revenge of the Mummy ride, a must for adults but not quite the best thing for young kids. Raffles Hotel. This colonial building is one of the world's last grand 19th century hotels and was once visited by literary luminaries such as Rudyard Kipling and Joseph Conrad, as well as movie star Charlie Chaplin. Built in 1887, the Raffles Hotel has served as a Singapore landmark for well over a century and continues to live up to its stony reputation with excellent food and service. The classical architecture and tropical gardens provide a refined setting and represent another facet of Singapore's varied and rich history. The Raffles Hotel is located in Singapore's colonial district, also home to several other historic sites. Among them is the Raffles Landing site, where Sir Stamford Raffles is said to have stepped ashore in 1819. The story has it that he saw the small fishing village but recognized its potential as a port, so he purchased the land from the Sultan of Johor and invited Chinese and Indian immigrants to move there. And so the seeds of Singapore's multi-ethnic identity were sown. Singapore Zoo. One of the world's best rainforest zoos, the Singapore Zoo is a pretty impressive place for animal lovers. The facility is clean and inviting, and the animals appear well treated with plenty of lush vegetation and habitat space. The orangutans are particularly impressive, and visitors can watch as babies and adults alike swing high above their platforms and snack on bananas. There is also a large chimpanzee family, zebras, meerkats, a Komodo dragon, mole rats, white tigers, kangaroos and many other creatures. Guests can also observe feedings for some of the animals. There is also the night safari, river safari, including a giant panda forest. Jurong Bird Park. Jurong Bird Park is a must-visit attraction in Singapore, managed by Wildlife Reserve Singapore. It is a landscape park built on the western slope of Jurong Hill. The bird park is home to 5,000 birds across 400 bird species, one of the largest collections of birds in the world. Singapore Flyer. It is the world's largest giant observation wheel. One can choose from several different packages that allow you to be served while enjoying a view that encompasses not only the Singapore skyline but reaches to the Spice Islands of Indonesia and Malaysia Straits of Johor. There are several different ticket packages to choose from, and each includes access to the Multimedia Journey of Dreams exhibit that delves into Singapore's history and the creation of the Singapore Flyer. Botanic Gardens. Not to be confused with the gardens on the bay, the Botanic Gardens are also worth a visit. Singapore received its first UNESCO World Heritage nomination for the Botanic Gardens, and with good reason. The city can sometimes feel like a concrete jungle, albeit a clean and comfortable one, but the Botanic Gardens preserve pieces of Singapore's wilder heritage. Indeed, you can visit the garden's heritage trees via walking trail, which are conserved as part of an effort to protect the city's mature tree species. It is advised not to miss the visit to the impressive National Orchid Garden. Other attractions include an eco garden, eco lake, bonsai garden, sculptures, and several other gardens and unique sites. Chinatown. If you have ever visited China, Singapore's Chinatown neighborhood will bring you right back there. From the small mom-and-pop stores and authentic Chinese food to the bright red lanterns, there's an excitement and hustle in this district. There is the Chinese Heritage Center and the impressive and beautiful Sri Mariamman Hindu Temple. Another temple worth seeing is the Buddha Tooth Relic Temple. Heritage markers have been installed throughout the neighborhood in English, Japanese and simplified Chinese, so visitors can better understand the significance of the area. But this neighborhood is not just a testament to the influence of the Chinese throughout Singapore's past. Little India and Arab Street. One of the most exciting aspects of Singapore is the diversity of its neighborhoods. Nowhere is this truer than in Little India and Arab Street, also known as the Arab Quarter. The Indian community has a rich history in Singapore, and this enclave dates back more than 200 years. Singapore's name actually derives from the Sanskrit word for lion city, according to Little India's official website. Today, the neighborhood is a thriving, colorful place where traditional holidays are celebrated and visitors can observe worship and activity at the Sri Veeramakkaliyamman temple or purchase saris while mingling with local vendors. In the Arab Quarter, you will want to visit the historic Sultan Mosque, originally built in 1825. Non-Muslims are not permitted in the prayer hall, though you can appreciate the distinctive golden domes and craftsmanship of the exterior structure. Haji and Bali lanes are especially good spots to shop for something, and you will also find yourself surrounded by music and food as there are countless restaurants. Special interest tours in Singapore and unique Singapore. Singapore flight experience. This is a unique experience for the visitors where they can have an experience of flying on Singapore popular attraction in a simulation of flight, and even tourists can ride the flights. Lunch or dinner at Jurong Bird Park. Singapore tourism has preserved the limited resources of tourism in a very good manner and utilized these well for earning revenues. One special interest tours among those is having lunch or dinner at Jurong Bird Park along with feathery friends sharing the table. Business tourism. Singapore is a popular and most preferred destination for business travels. The modern infrastructure, facilities at hotels and convention centers, unique locations to organize business events like cruise, islands, etc. attracts a lot of multinational companies to host their business events. Now let's move on to the tourism in Indonesia. Introduction. Indonesia is an archipelago and a huge country in both population and land area with significant cultural and geological diversity. With 18,110 islands, 6,000 of them inhabited, it is the largest archipelago in the world. The population of around 240 million people is derived from 300 ethnic groups who speak over 250 different languages. While Bali is usually the destination most familiar to foreign visitors, there is a wealth of other top tourist attractions in Indonesia to discover in this vast and varied country. Indonesia is a country known for its diverse culture, religious harmony, beautiful islands and beaches, volcanoes and historical monuments belong to different religions. Facts and figures about Indonesia. Capital city Jakarta, area 18,11,570 square kilometer, population 250 million according to the July 2013 census. Official language is Indonesian. Many local or regional languages have been spoken by island people. Currency Indonesian Rupiah. Tourist attractions in Indonesia. Bali. Bali is one of more than 17,000 islands in the Indonesian archipelago and is located just over 2 kilometers, that is almost 1.5 miles from the eastern tip of the island of Java and west of the island of Lombok. The island, home to about 4 million people, is approximately 144 kilometers, that is 90 miles from east to west, and 80 kilometers, that is 50 miles north to south. The word paradise is used a lot in Bali and not without reason. The combination of friendly, hospitable people, a magnificently visual culture infused with spirituality and, not least, spectacular beaches with great surfing and diving have made Bali Indonesia's unrivaled #1 tourist attraction. 80% of international visitors to Indonesia visit Bali and Bali alone. Bali is an Indonesian island known for its forested volcanic mountains, iconic rice paddies, beaches and coral reefs. The island is home to religious sites such as cliffside Uluwatu Temple. To the south, the beachside city of Kuta has lively bars, while Seminyak, Sanur and Nusa Dua are popular resort towns. The island is also known for its yoga and meditation retreats. Perched among stunning terraced rice fields, Ubud is considered the cultural heart of Bali and one of the top tourist attractions in Indonesia. There are dance and music performances every day throughout the city, as well as numerous art galleries and craft shops to explore. Although Ubud has long been valued as a great place to learn about Balinese culture, tourism in Ubud boomed exponentially in the last decades. Tanjung Puting. The Tanjung Puting National Park is located on the island of Borneo in the Indonesian province of Central Kalimantan. The park is a popular ecotourism destination with many local tour companies offering multi-day boat tours to view wildlife and visit the research centers. Wildlife includes gibbons, macaques, clouded leopards, sun bears, pythons, crocodiles and most famously orangutans. Unfortunately, the park is heavily threatened by illegal logging and forest clearing for agricultural uses. Balian Valley. The Balian Valley in the highlands of Western New Guinea offers a glimpse into what was recently a Stone Age world. The valley was not known to the outside world until 1938, when an aerial reconnaissance flight southwards from Hollandia, now Jaipura, discovered a large agricultural population. Wamena is the starting point for most visitors who come nowadays to marvel at the mountain views, roaring rivers, tribal villages and at the tough but sweet spirit of the warm Dani people. Mount Bromo. Gunung Bromo is an active volcano and part of the Tengger Massif in East Java. At 2,329 meters, that is 7,641 feet, it is not the highest peak of the massif, but it is the most well known. The area is one of the most visited tourist attractions in Indonesia and Java. The top of the volcano has been blown off and the crater inside constantly belches white smoke. It is surrounded by the sea of sand of fine volcanic sand. The overall effect is unsettlingly unearthly. Budokan. Located at the north of the island of Sulawesi, Budokan is one of Indonesia's most famous dive and snorkeling areas. The island is part of the Budokan Marine Park, where you can see more than 70% of all fish species that live in the Western Pacific Ocean. The best time for diving in Budokan is between the months of April and November. Toraja Land. Toraja Land, that is Tanah Toraja, is a highland region of South Sulawesi, home of the Toraja people. Torajans are famous for their massive peaked roof houses known as tongkonan and spectacular but gruesome funeral rites. After a person's death, the body is kept often for several years until the actual funeral ceremony, which can last for several days. The deceased is then finally buried in a small cave or in a hollow tree. Gili Islands. Lombok's most popular tourist destination, the Gili Islands, is an archipelago of 3 small islands, Gili Trawangan, Gili Meno and Gili Air. The islands are very relaxed and laid back, with countless little beachside cafes still playing reggae and no cars or motorbikes to disturb the peace. Note that the name Gili Islands is rather redundant, as Gili simply means small island in Sasak, and there are many other islands around the coast of Lombok with Gili in their names. Komodo National Park. The Komodo National Park is a national park located within the Lesser Sunda Islands that includes the 3 larger islands Komodo, Padar and Rinca and 26 smaller ones. The park is named after the Komodo dragon, the world's largest living reptile that can reach 3 meters or more in length and weigh over 70 kg. Although Komodo dragons eat mostly carcass of dead animals, they are formidable predators and will also hunt prey including birds and mammals. Attacks against humans are very rare. Borobudur. Located 40 km, that is 25 miles northwest of Yogyakarta on Java, the Borobudur is one of the most famous Buddhist temple in the world. The Borobudur was built over a period of some 75 years in the 8th and 9th centuries by the kingdom of Sailendra out of an estimated 2 million blocks of stone. It was abandoned in the 14th century for reasons that still remain a mystery, and for centuries lay hidden in the jungle under layers of volcanic ash. Today, it is one of the most popular tourist attractions in Indonesia. Lake Toba. Lake Toba on the island of Sumatra is an immense volcanic lake about 100 kilometers long and 30 kilometers wide. Formed by a gigantic volcanic eruption some 70,000 years ago, it is the largest resurgent caldera on Earth. Genetic estimates suggest that there were only a few thousand humans that survived the catastrophe. The island in the middle, Pulau Samosir, is the largest island within an island and contains 2 lakes. Besides visiting a lake on an island within a lake on an island, tourists can also come here to kick back and relax and swim in the volcanically warmed waters. Thank you.